It's time for some more Medewi campaign. Last time we created a state at Tyros to try and stop the Selucids, and that didn't really work. Lacumazes had to face a Selucid army one-on-one uphill and managed to win somehow, so that was great. He was trapped in enemy territory though, and to get out he had to win a difficult battle at Tyros, which he managed to do, but then he was immediately attacked and now is in trouble. Luckily he was just outside the settlement, so he can still survive. This fight though started with some naval action because some of the enemy's force was coming in by sea on transports, and we had these garrison ships. They have virtually no crew, but that doesn't change the ability to ram with these ships. So while we can't do any regular combat actions, we can try and sink the enemy's transports. As long as we don't get our crew taken up by missile fire, or they don't manage to board with us, which can happen when you try and ram enemy ships. Since the ships are next to each other, they kind of stick together sometimes you get a boarding action. As long as we can avoid that, we can take down these transports. One's already gone down. Here comes the second ram on this leading ship. It's going to go as well. It only takes two to destroy a transport ship, even with small ships like these. So this is going to be a pretty good start to the fight. We've used pretty much no troops to take out several enemy units, including this general's unit, which had some really heavy looking guards, so we're now going to have to swim for it, and the general dies pretty soon after that ship sinks. Very nice. But the real focus of this battle, our real objective, is to lose in such a way that Lacumazes doesn't die. He's been forced to join this fight. He's not allowed to withdraw from it either. For whatever reason, there's just no button at the bottom there to withdraw. So we have to actually fight, but we'll probably lose, and we need to do it in such a way that as much stuff can rout off the field as possible, because then we will be allowed to retreat afterwards, because how the mechanics just happen to work. Now, I left a few units behind in the town just to be annoying to the Selucids. Everything else is going to retreat outside. The spearmen had no luck at all fighting against the enemy's cav, because their cav was just so heavy. I could actually have sacrificed all of the garrison in the town. That would have made it easier to rout on the edge of the map, but I did want to try and fight this battle like a normal fight. So I'm forming up over here because you can see from the balance bar it's not completely one-sided. I just have no faith whatsoever in many of these units and know that they'll underperform. That's why I'm so intent on losing, or so determined to not actually try and win properly. But while I was forming up for that fight, I also landed a couple of my archers on the other side of the map, and the enemy were more interested in fighting them than me. So be it, I thought, as they came out the north side of the town to attack that tiny groups of archers I'd put in the corner of the map, just hiding from the enemy right now. And I'm sending my baggage train to go and retake the town while they're distracted by this little mission of theirs. Now, you've probably noticed I'm not actually using the battle replay here, and you might be able to work out why I didn't bother filming the battle replay for this one. You can see I'm spreading the archers out to get maximum kiting value. Well, you might see where this is going, that's all I'll say. My baggage train almost recaptured the town, but unfortunately the enemy were diligent enough to turn some men back to try and stop me from doing it, so we weren't able to do that little cheeky move. But we still can be very cheeky, just being annoying to the enemy and just running about in the corner here with these archers. And it gets the enemy into a right bother. They want to bring their whole army to bring down these regiments, and it's just wasting time because it takes them so long to form up, and the Selucids have slow armies to start with. Here though, you can see they kind of lost interest. I was running about at the back there, and they started actually moving around the town to come towards the main fight. I wasn't going to have that. At this point I decided to just test what we can do, so I started running my archers up behind them to get their attention while I put all of my army in hiding so the enemy wouldn't be able to see it. And the way the AI is scripted to work is that if it can't see your units, it will presume you don't have them. So that means once everything's in hidden positions, these units will only focus on attacking our archers because that's the only thing they think we have. That means we can kite them all the way back up to the north end of the map, which will take them a long time to do, and that's going to be running that timer down, down, down. We are going to turn this very specific kind of defeat that I had planned into a classic exploit victory. We're going to go there at the very least to see if it will work. I'm trying to save the archers, by the way, by using these tribesmen. What we can do is distract the enemy from attacking my distraction force with a slightly bigger force that will bring the enemy down to the south part of the map, and then once they get close we'll go back into hiding. The AI forgets that you have these units and then looks around and goes, oh yeah, the archers, and walks back up to the north part of the map. So by doing that a couple of times, our triple speed, it just runs the timer down and really nothing happens. So you can see they've come back up to this end. Our archers are hiding in forests or getting out of line of sight on the beach, and they get confused and then start walking back the other way because you've got the tribesmen set up to catch their attention. And once I've confirmed that they are moving towards the southern group, the southern group's just going to start moving back, and the slight mist actually means they can hide even in the open once they're far away enough, so that made it nice and easy. Eventually, the game gets bored of this, I get bored of this, and it gives me a heroic victory. We did take some losses in the fight, so the enemy kind of won in that regard, but we didn't lose the town, we didn't lose our main force, we didn't lose Lacumazes. All we lost was our dignity, and I think that is a worthy price to pay. We did, let's not forget, take down that fleet at the start. So that's 3 enemy units actually wiped out. That's nice. We lost 3 of our ships apparently because the crews were then too small to go back to them for whatever reason. So that's a shame, but it's only garrison units. We lost 2 other garrison units. Our main force still in perfect condition relative to how it started. Still overall in terrible condition. We somehow took 2 prisoners, so we'll send them off as slaves to our empire. And that's all from the Selucids. They didn't bring anything more to challenge Tyros. They have been thoroughly humiliated, surely. Now, there was a bit of trouble for my little raiding force that I sent to the other end of the Selucid Empire just to be annoying, because we're being attacked by Parsa. This is one of the million puppet states, the vassals of the Selucids, who are mostly concentrated in the eastern part of the empire. And they can just come at you with stacks for days. We're going to get out of the way. Luckily, they don't pursue us there, so we got away with facing a very difficult battle by the looks of things. Now, in the next turn, we learn that a new royal heir has come of age. It looks like we're getting a new family member, and we could do with them because it's only Lacumazes in the royal family right now. No one's appeared in the list yet, but it does take some time, I think, for them to actually show up as a general. We'll see. Now, what I wanted to do straight away was try and save this raiding army, because it's probably going to be attacked again by Parsa, but I spent a lot of money to buy the guys at Hermosia into the war to give us a chance. I also noted that Parsa, the region called Parsa, is currently controlled by the Selucids, so I'm pretty sure these guys have been kicked out of her homeland and then forced to serve the empire. They're probably not happy about that, but whatever. So by buying those guys at Hermosia into the war, we have a chance, because where Parsa happens to be standing is in range of their army, so this battle can be initiated. We're going to bring in the enemy's army and their garrison into this fight. The enemy still have a slight advantage on that balance bar, because our allies' troops are not very good. They've got loads of utter trash. However, just having them in the fight will give us a pretty decent chance of winning, because they're going to be a massive distraction. So I'm starting to form up, trying to get the high ground so I can come down at Parsa from a decent position. And while that's happening, our ally is forming up right behind the enemy, the perfect place. So as I said, they do have lots of rubbish coming in here. They've got some low quality spears, and they've got lots of garrisoned townspeople type units. They just won't do anything. You can see the orders the AI is giving their men. They just want to form up on top of the enemy. Well, it's an okay idea, at least it gets the fight going, and as the units start to close, we can take a little look at how bad these guys are. We've got people with no equipment, no armor, just rushing in right at the front. Probably not going to go well. They're having a better time here, where they've got elephants leading the charge, but going through trees, and since they just had a movement order, they don't actually charge, per se. They just walk into the enemy, which with elephants doesn't do anything. You do have to give them attack orders to make them do the stampede thing that gets hundreds of kills. So that didn't go very well, and here, also not going very well. The unarmed guys are being sent into the front of a pike wall. Not sure what they're hoping to achieve, but they are going to achieve nothing with that attack. A little bit more luck up on their right flank, where some of their decent cavalry is attacking the enemy's lesser infantry. They'll be able to make a little bit of progress there, and we're just strolling over. We're going to take our time. We don't mind if this ally dies. We've paid them to fight in this battle. We're going to get our money's worth, essentially. Try and weaken the enemy as much as possible to minimize the damage to our side. So we're here a little bit later. The grind is just continuing on both sides, taking losses, and we finally got involved in a small way. I sent some cavalry to chase after a routing unit. That unit stopped routing just as I arrived, inconveniently, and we ended up having a little fight. Had to get out of there though, because those were some elite enemy infantry, and our guys had no chance of actually killing them in the melee. Our cavalry is pretty bad. we drew those guys all the way back to our line, so we are going to get involved in the fight now, albeit against a single unit, and they come to fight our front line. Now this was a potentially very dangerous situation, or it would have been if I was playing Total War Attila. You can see all my Javelineers are ready to hit those guys, but they're not going to, because Rome 2 is much nicer than Attila. Your guys don't just throw in a straight line regardless of what's in front of them, so our men are saved by this mechanic that was lost along the way somewhere. Let's see if we can get that back in there one day at some point. CA. They're also attacking us with some archers, just charging into melee to attack our front line. That's not going to do very much, and they seem to rout instantly, being hit by a volley from some other archers back here somewhere, so betrayed by their own kind. They're also attacking us with heavy cavalry on our left flank. Luckily, I brought some of the Red Sea hoplites with their elephant skin shields, and they managed to chase them away. Quite literally had to chase them quite a long way before they actually committed to melee, and we defeated them. So we advanced forwards to start getting involved in the fight properly. This one unit of pikes was isolated. We casually strolled past it. They forgot about us. Then we came at them from behind with a two-handed axeman. This wasn't as good as I thought it would be, actually. We've seen before that two-handed axeman can sometimes just rip through units, getting a kill with every attack. For whatever reason, these levied pikes seem to be okay at defending themselves, so we didn't just annihilate them like I expected. They moved back and turned around, ready to present their pike wall to us. That was a pretty good move. However, we've got another unit coming in for the flank attack. Once again, not as effective as I would have liked. I wanted to see the unit just break apart from this attack. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot though, because they tried to advance forwards into our men, which got them completely surrounded and broke up their formation, and then we were just hacking them from all directions and getting inside and slashing about, and that's going to destroy them pretty soon. At the same time, the enemy sent their general to engage with our front line. They're fighting some of our hoplites there, who are able to resist them, just form into phalanx and keep the enemy busy, while we come in to surround them. Here comes the rear attack in slow motion, our men being overly dramatic for this one. They know they're on camera, charging in for a big attack, and these enemy soldiers don't have shields, they just have a two-handed spear, so they'll be in trouble against this rear attack. We'll start hacking them apart. Very nice. The main part of the fight is going to start as well, where we send all of our front line to start engaging the enemy. I was probably a tiny bit too late. I think our allies were kind of wiped out by the time I arrived. If I'd arrived a tiny bit earlier, I might have got more proper rear attacks and more supporting attacks that would have demoralized the enemy, but it's still going to be good enough. They're exhausted, we're fresh, and most of the enemy troops have been depleted at this point anyway. Their general gets completely annihilated. That's going to help them rout as well. Very soon after this, we see a close victory announced. So only close because our side as a whole took lots of losses. Our army is going to come out of this pretty good, and the enemy got completely wrecked. That was just what we needed then. Didn't really lose anything and took down that enemy army, or really our allies took down the enemy army and lost almost everything. But they only lost one full unit. They'll be able to regenerate, and the enemy were completely destroyed, so they're gone for now and we are safe. This army is not in very good condition, so it can't really do much more, and we'll have to bring it back in a bit. The Selucids went for another go at Tyros. This time Lacumazes has safely gotten out of there, and they are going to be able to take it. Our garrison forces had no pixels on the balance bar. We say goodbye to them. So once again, Tyros going to be changing hands. It seems to be the front line in this war. We'll have to try and take it back ourselves because it is pretty important for us. And now we've got our new family member. It's Nasakma, something like that. And he is a pretty good looking commander. He's got gifted leader and calm as his traits. And that sounds like two traits we could use in this high pressure war. Our little raiding force here is going to have to be picked up by this fleet in order to go home. I'm going to build a supply ship first, because actually on the way over a lot of them died to attrition because I forgot to do that. This time we'll get them back safely, and then we can go do a surgical strike somewhere else with them once they've all replenished. With delight, we can note that the Selucids who just took Tyros are now dying because of the classic Judea drought problem. Lacumazes can meanwhile set one foot over the border and avoid it, so that's all well and good. He's going to need to sit around down here for a little bit, get his forces back to full strength, and then maybe think about going back to Tyros to have it once again. Meanwhile, Ozilkes has got a little bit of trouble. He's also taking attrition. This time it's because the summer is blocking our supply line, so he can't get supplied in his little ambush camp there. I've been waiting here for a while to see if the Selucids would come and attack me, and then I could try and ambush them on the way, but it wasn't happening, and I thought maybe it's not happening just because they don't have anything, and that seemed to be the case when my spy looked nearby. There's nothing in immediate movement range, so we've got a little bit of time here. We can actually take this settlement, and that will deal with our supply problems pretty nicely. I was happy to see that we had an advantage somehow on the balance bar even coming in. I thought this is absolutely not true. The enemy army is full of hoplites and they're going to have walls to defend themselves. That would be a very difficult assault. But the balance bar is going to be our friend. I'm going to bring up this second army. It's all still mostly medium units that would struggle in a settlement assault, especially because we only have one set of ladders between both armies, so we'd have to attack up a very difficult choke point. The balance bar doesn't know that, so we're going to take a very easy victory here in order to solve all of our problems. Ozilkees himself almost dying in the combat because he went a little bit too hard, but it works out. We've taken a walled settlement on the front line. This is going to be a nice defensive position we can sit in. The only real problem with it is Tyros off to the west. As long as they control Tyros, we can be attacked from 3 sides there, so I really wanted to try and take it back. So I thought I could come at it with 2 armies, one from the east, one from the south. It doesn't work right away though, because the forces of Tyros, the faction that is, are standing in the way. They're sitting on the bridge I need to use to get to the settlement, so we actually can't go after them right now. That's annoying, and we have to go on to the next turn. The game tries to scare me with this noble death message. It's actually just the admiral that we were using to transport our raiding force around, so that's all fine. And apparently Lacumazes trying to get adopted, someone's trying to adopt him I should say, into their family, which we can't accept because he is the heir to the royal family. I'm not sure who they think they were trying to adopt the heir to the royal family. Pretty sneaky. Anyway, our raiding forces have made it back, and I don't think any of them died on the way, although they did have the attrition sign there, even in the ship with the supply ship. I'm still not totally sure how that works. Now I'm going to make this attack on Tyros. I started with Lacumazes besieging the place. Now I can bring down this second army. The guy leading this is called Arcupazane, which I think is a very good name. Now, we had a little bit of an issue actually. He can't reach where Lacumazes is, or close enough to be in reinforcement range, because I wanted to leave this place under siege for at least 1 turn. And the reason for that is the army inside, because it has the ports, it can leave, so it might leave if we just allow the turn to go by. It might sail back to Selucids, for example, because it doesn't want to be under siege. And that would allow us to take Tyros for free, but in order to do that safely we need to have our 2 armies in reinforcement range of each other in case they sally out. So after a bit of messing around we get that to happen, and we are safe to wait for the end turn sequence to see what the enemy do. Meanwhile, it seems the locals off to the east aren't too happy about being conquered by the Egyptians. There is no Egyptian culture in this province at all. They are not up for it. But Ozilkees is going to make them up for it. The rebels that spawn here just spawn with the mob unit, with silver experience for some reason, but the mob unit all the same, so we can just take them down easy. Now we've got another war with the so-and-so city-states. Always welcome. We can make some money off this. As usual, it's turning into a routine now. We just hack through the news, go right to them and say, well, yes, you've declared war on us technically, but do you want to not only not be at war with us, but you also force them to not be at war with Rhodes, because Rhodes is our satrapy, and they can pay us for the privilege. They didn't want to be our satrapy, so we couldn't get that level of deal, but we almost don't want them to be our satrapy, because if they keep declaring war on us, we'll keep making money. The Selucids for some reason brought this tiny army over towards their settlement. I'm not sure if they thought this would retake it in some way. What I think they were trying to do is attack the rebels, because all factions are at war with rebels, and sometimes they just want to attack them even in the territory of their enemies. So we took those guys down thanks to the rebels for baiting them over here, and now we'll quickly get back into reinforcement range of our town so the rebels can't do anything, and we'll take them out in the future. As you can see, the Selucids inside Tyros didn't go away, so we have to face this battle now. And I just decided we can auto-resolve this. Look at that balance bar. For whatever reason, I had it in my head I had to fight this, but this was the balance bar before as well. For some reason I just didn't register that actually we can just take this place right away. And we actually don't take that many losses. I think we would have taken more losses than we do here if we'd fought it manually, so very grateful for that. We'll walk on in. Once again, Tyros changing hands, but this time we're in a bit of a better position to defend it. Now for the future of the series, I think I will make a couple more parts. People have said mixed reactions to whether it should end or continue. I'll do a couple more just to see where this is going, because I think we might actually be in a position to start pushing forwards and winning this war, which might be interesting, although I won't fight it to its conclusion because it will take forever even if we are winning. And there was a lot of support for another series to be made in the same mod, perhaps as a different faction. Lots of people suggesting Greek city-states, so I'll take a look around and see what we can do and maybe start something in parallel with this. Whatever happens, I hope you'll join me for the next Abridged campaign commentary.